Hello everybody, it is so good to be back. Unfortunately and fortunately, it has been a massive past 6 weeks making good memories, but also we've had some very stressful times. But we will not get into that right now. We've got a big video ahead of us. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Between training and study, I still have a lot of free time. In town, there's a shopping centre sort of thing called sailing, and on top, there is a pretty garden. This is called the sailing rooftop. From the street below, you can only see a tiny part of the lookout, and I thought that's all it was. I'm glad I checked it out because it was actually quite large, spanning over a couple of stories, plenty of plants, a cafe, restaurant, 360 views, and relaxing music. Despite the dark clouds, there was still plenty to see without the disruption of anyone else, probably because it was so windy. The sun came out the following day, which was perfect weather for a bike ride. I love riding down the streets with cute little houses, but not so much the streets with roadworks. I'm just letting you know that today is a very exciting day. I've been waiting literally all day. It's now almost 6 o'clock. Waiting all day for Mum to come, and I'm now at the station waiting for her. Yay! She's here, guys. She's here. Can you tell I was excited? Bouncing up and down, wondering why this train had to be so damn long and take forever to stop. Let's speed this up a bit.
Let me take that. Come here.
I didn't let my tired mother rest, and instead took her back to my place where we hosted a large family-like dinner. Ellie and her mum Emily made a lovely Danish-style meal for our housemates and all of our guests. Then it was bedtime, so we could get at least a little bit of sleep before parkrun. Here's a little interview from Mum, post-parkrun.
Okay, Mum. Tell me, what are your thoughts on this parkrun? Give me a rating.
Everybody said that Denmark was flat, but this one, there was quite a couple of hills in there that were a bit challenging. No, it was fun and it was beautiful. And then different paths and different scenery. It was very nice.
Oh, thanks, Mum. Give me a high five.
That was a shocking high five. It was nice to take Mum to my temporary home parkrun, but I was yet to actually explore the lookout in the middle of our course. So, we did it. It wasn't too exciting, so then it was time to go back home and get ready for the rest of the day. I was showing Mum all my favourite spots, so we'll be revisiting a few places from my previous vlogs. This time at Aarhus Cathedral, they were doing a sound check for a concert coming up that night. Back to the sailing rooftop, where it was a lot less windy but a lot more busy. There was an event happening, not really sure what it was, but we did 10 lunges each for a free drink bottle. Yay!
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here, go.
I guess the blue skies and the free stuff really bring out the people here in Denmark. Mum was fascinated by the bikes. We took a quick walk through the main train station's bike parking. She couldn't believe it. We stopped more than once so Mum could take photos. It's been almost a month since then, and I still don't think she's over it. Next stop was the Infinity Bridge and the Deer Park. At first, there wasn't much to see, but we were glad we stuck around and made a new friend on the other side of the fence. I may have a visitor from the other side of the world, but my training certainly hasn't stopped. My bike ride the following morning was misty, but as the sun continued to burn, the clouds went away and I was joined with a lovely group of mammals, middle-aged men in lycra. They all cheered "Good tour" to me, which means have a good trip in Danish. They also asked if I wanted to join them for 160 kilometers. Unfortunately, I only had 40 kilometers to do that day, so I stuck with them until they flew off. Until I had to turn around. Cows. After my bike ride, I took Mum to the old town. I was excited to see the newer part, from the 1970s onwards, as I hadn't explored this section yet. These were a couple of old student share houses, which I must admit look a little bit better than mine. I think we both enjoyed watching the horse and carriages clip-clop past us through the town. Before sunset, we were sure to walk to the other side of the fence to look at the Botanic Gardens. I hadn't actually walked through here yet, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was really pretty, and I felt like a bit of a fairy with all the little rocks, bushes, and sun peeking through the trees. Unfortunately, I had to leave Mum behind the next day to go on a trip for one of my classes. I was not too keen to be at uni at 7 AM to get on the bus to Herning, a 1.5 hour bus trip from Aarhus. To be honest, the day kinda sucked. Quite like this revolving door, which was very slow and kept more people out in the freezing cold than in. The worst part was knowing that Mum was home alone, cooped up watching movies as the rain poured. If only I'd been with her. As always though, I was more than happy to indulge in the free cake. Time for my final bike ride in Denmark before I head off to Spain for the World Championships. You know it's a good bike ride when you see cows, the clouds burn away, and the blue skies appear. It was so good, I was even singing to myself. We don't need to listen to that though. A big ride calls for a big feed. We then had a delicious lunch at the Aarhus street food. Mum obviously had to try the Danish meatballs and pies before a sweet treat for dessert. I think she was pretty impressed.
Cheers.
Mum seems pretty keen to get behind the camera to receive credits as a co-videographer. Thanks, Mum. I love to read, and with my free time here in Denmark, I've been reading a lot of books. I got to show Mum how the library system works, where I spend a lot of my time. Here, I was saying goodbye to the first 3 books I read before picking up my next book. This must have been the first time I'd returned something because it looks like I did get a bit confused. Or maybe it was stage fright. Then to pick up my next book that I had reserved online. Oh, don't look at my password. Book secured, now to go keep exploring. Mum had asked if we could go down this random street which is apparently labelled as a tourist attraction for its pretty houses. I can't believe after a few months I'd never been down here before, even though it's only a few hundred metres from one of my most frequent bus stops. This was Mum's final stroll through Aarhus, and I was super happy I got to share my new home with her. We made it to Copenhagen. Don't be fooled by the blue sky. The air was fresh and the water was fresher. I was super grateful Mum managed to squeeze some of my most important things into her luggage from Australia, like my wetsuit. To make Mum's limited luggage space worth it, I went for a quick swim in the Weddy as soon as we arrived in Copenhagen. I've got no idea how the Nordic sea dippers do it. I couldn't feel my hands and face because they were freezing from the water, but there were casual bathers going for a quick swim with nothing on but a pair of jocks. Perhaps I wasn't made for braving the cold. Thankfully, I had Mum there to wrap me up in a nice warm towel as soon as I got out.
That was very refreshing. Thanks.
Mum was very impressed with the driverless metro. She loved that we could see straight through the front window. Our first touristy stop was Frederick's Church. I thought this was beautiful and definitely could have spent hours looking at it and walking around it. The inside also had some incredible detail. Just down the road was the Royal Palace. Yep, that's right, Grandpa. This is where Queen Mary lives. Unfortunately, she was away from home when we visited, so I didn't get to say hi. Next time though, I'll be sure to give her a wave. It was also nice to see Mum bright and happy. I'm not sure what she was enjoying more, the sights or the sun. There were plenty of guards about. Some of them even looked happy. Not like the royal guards you see on TV. But we are in Denmark, after all. I might actually be letting you all in on a little secret here, but perhaps it's one worth sharing. While the guards were doing their changeover and everyone watched on eagerly with their phones out on record, I turned and watched the fancy escort cars come in and out of their driveways away from the action of the guards. After seeing these couple of sights, I didn't really know what to do next. Luckily, my good friend Ruben was prepared to send me a comprehensive list of things to do in Copenhagen, thanks to his travels earlier this year, as well as one of his new Danish friends that he met on his own exchange. On Ruben's list was the Little Mermaid statue, and thankfully he did warn me that it is quite underwhelming. If I didn't know that, I think I would have been pretty disappointed. I was surprised by the amount of people who gathered to see her, but I guess it is an attraction nonetheless. Close by was a historic Danish fortress called Castle. It was designed to protect Copenhagen from foreign invasion and played an important role during World War II. It is still an active military facility and is currently used for Danish intelligence services, but the guards were more than happy to answer any questions about the area as it is a park open to the public. Surrounding the fortress is a canal with plenty of ducks. Our final stop for the evening was Nyhavn, the new port. Very picturesque, these shop and house fronts are often the first thing you see when you look up Copenhagen. We enjoyed a nice walk up and down each side of the port before settling for a delicious waffle covered in warm chocolate. It was then time to make our way back home so we could get some rest before parkrun the next day. Mum would beg to differ, but she absolutely smashed parkrun and ran a super fast time. The weather was perfect for it too. This was my walk back to the apartment after parkrun so I could get ready for the rest of the day. We went back to the Newport for lunch so we could try a classic Danish lunch by the waterside. Smørrebrød is like an open sandwich with a piece of Danish rye bread at the bottom and plenty of fulfilling toppings on top. It wasn't cheap, but I think it was worth it. Our next activity also wasn't cheap, but this time it probably wasn't worth it. We did a canal cruise, starting and ending at Nyhavn. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this cruise unless it's something you really want to do, or you book online in advance. I wasn't super keen on the cruise in the first place, which was starting at about 27 Australian dollars online. I must admit it seemed a rude shock when I found out I'd paid 130 Australian dollars at the counter to listen to the same things I'd be able to hear on a free walking tour. While there was plenty of history to learn about, the actual sights we saw were too far away to properly enjoy. and once we left the port, the surroundings were pretty bland. We did get to see the Little Mermaid's butt, photobomb a few photos, and waved at a few other boats and their passengers. Probably the coolest thing to see was the Church of Our Saviour, which has a cool spiral at the top, but again, I think this would have been better to see in a walking tour. It was a bit of a shame to end our first Copenhagen trip on a sour and expensive note, but at least I knew we were coming back here after Spain. The following morning it was time to head off to Malaga, so to the airport we go. Stay tuned for my next vlog about Spain, and please enjoy my new segment, The Bloopers.
Why would you feed us spaghetti?
Oh!